Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Davina, Becoming an Overcomer, where we explore resilience, healing, and overcoming life challenges. Today, I am honored to be joined by Jess Hudson, a proud Afro-Latina therapist, storyteller, and advocate for mental health and inclusion. Jess's journey as a Black Latina graduate student navigating a predominantly white institution has shaped her passion for mental health, identity, and culture. In this episode, we will focus in on so many things. So get ready, put on your seatbelt because we are in for a ride. We will focus in on challenges college students face in higher education. And I think we all know that in higher education and college, there's so much stress. There's definitely isolation and just trying to figure out who you are, kind of navigating your identity while trying to keep it all together and be successful. So, whether you're a first year college student, a graduate student, or even if you're a parent of a college age student, this discussion is absolutely for you. It will provide insight and encouragement for students to keep going and to overcome the challenges that they face in college. So, just to share a little bit about a caring voice for you, we totally get and understand the unique pressures that come with college experiences. Our college student wellness support service provides regular phone calls and text check ins to support students in managing stress, staying motivated, and feeling connected, even when they're far away from home. And typically, that happens when you're far away from home. Sometimes things can get a little rocky. We also provide a support group for those experiencing stress, loneliness, and grief, or anything that you may be going through. So, if you or someone you know could benefit from these services, visit caringvoiceforyou.com to learn more. So, I am so excited to welcome Jess to the show. Thank you, Jess, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on and kind of talk about what was so important for me in my college journey and some of the things that I wish I could have heard, and I hope that other students can hear and maybe learn something.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you just for being here and being vulnerable to share your story and to let others know that they can move forward and overcome from anything that they are confronted with. So just to ask and have you share a little bit about yourself so the audience can get to know you.
Yeah, so as you said, I am a therapist. I've been a therapist for a couple of years now. But my therapy journey and who I am as a clinician is so influenced by my identity as a Black Latina. I have, experienced many, many things throughout my educational experience, throughout my training. And it's really, really shaped who I am as a clinician and how I show up in the room. I also am a big proponent of inclusivity and promoting equity within healthcare. I volunteer at a local clinic that serves underserved and underinsured populations. I use my ability to speak Spanish to really connect with some populations that may not be as open to mental health sometimes. I really, really love what I do. I believe part of my purpose in this world is to heal and to really connect with people. And it's been an amazing journey, but it's not a journey that hasn't been marked with some of its own challenges. And I really, really wish one thing that I would wish when I was going through this was to hear that this wasn't just my only experience, that somebody else was also going through this, somebody else was also already experienced it and was able to overcome it and make something great out of it. And I think because of what I went through and some of the challenges I faced, I became even better.
Absolutely. Yeah, and sometimes, I agree with you. It takes hearing that other people are going through some of the same struggles that you're going through in order for you to realize, you know what? I'm not alone in this. If they have gone through it, you know what? There's nothing wrong with what I'm experiencing, what I'm going through, because I can move forward and know that it's okay. Whatever I may be going through, I'm going to push forward and continue to move along in my journey to make sure that I'm going to be successful in what I'm doing. So thank you for sharing that. Can you just up a little bit more and share just some of the experiences that you went through in a college setting? This episode is dedicated to really connecting with many of the college students that are in the community. And, in college, there's so many things that you go through, but can you share some of the challenges that you faced while you were in college?
Yeah, so I think the biggest part of my college story is I went to a small private white institution in rural Indiana, and I went to St. Mary's College in South Bend. South Bend, next to St. Mary's, is the University of Notre Dame, one of the biggest schools in the country, huge football school, all that stuff. But at my college, there wasn't any people really that looked like me. I remember sitting in classrooms, particularly when I first entered college, I was a bio major, and there were three other black girls who were also bio majors within the program, and a professor would get the three of us confused. The three of us confused were different skin tones, different names, different people. We talking is different. We're just individuals. Nor were we in the same classes. So he would have each of us separately and still confuse us. There were times that it was rough, and that was just like kind of one of the many examples of microaggressions that were happening in the classroom. But one of the biggest challenges I faced was loneliness. I was searching for people. I did random selection roommate my first year. She was great. She was fantastic, but she wasn't kind of what I needed in my community at that time. And what I needed in my community at that time was somebody that looked like me that kind of kind of relate to in those experiences. So finding community was extremely hard. In all honesty, I didn't find my community of my two best friends who would later become my senior year roommates were my junior year, honestly. And the thing is, I knew these girls. Like, I actually lived next to one of them my freshman year, but we never talked. We were both very shy. We were both, you're 18 years old. You just moved away from home. You're very nervous to talk to people. And like I remembered her name, I remembered seeing her, but we didn't really connect. Um, and it wasn't until we took a class our junior year together that it ran late one day. We went to the dining hall and had dinner together, and that kind of started a deeper friendship. And we shared so much of the same experiences. And she was great. She was fantastic. And the other person I met through her as well. And then I have another good friend of mine who I met through a mutual friend that we had. So a lot of this was kind of interconnected, but I really didn't find these people. It almost took me 3 years to find them.
Wow, that's a
Yeah, it
long
was.
time.
It was a long time. It was. It was a very long time. Yes, a lot of trial and error for sure.
Wow, so almost 3 years of loneliness. So it seemed like you were confident. You made it to college. You had your major. You were a confident 18-year-old, made your way to where you wanted to be. But once you got there, it was something that you felt like this sense of loneliness because you couldn't really connect with the people that you were surrounded by initially. And
Mm.
it took some time for you to kind of figure that out. But go on, I'm sorry.
It's and it wasn't just connecting with them just because of our racial similarities. It was also their values were drastically different from mine, and there were things I couldn't really connect with or couldn't really. I don't want to say approve of because I never want to give anybody my approval, but stuff that fundamentally didn't sit right with me. So I had to distance myself. And in distancing myself to protect my peace in other ways, I was also kind of damaging myself.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of just trying to figure out your identity, who you are, what you're comfortable in, protecting your peace, which I really share is so important with my clients, and I advocate for it. That's really important because protecting your peace is I don't know, in a sense, just making sure that you're okay.
Hmm.
So good points, and I'm glad that you shared that that's something that you struggle with because I'm sure there's people out there that realize that what they may be in a school or in a situation where they're not feeling all that comfortable, and just realizing that this is something that other people have gone through, and to don't give up with trying to find and connect with the people who you feel that you're most comfortable with. So, as you were there, and you mentioned it took you a couple years to find the people that you felt most comfortable with, that you became real, good friends with, and actually became roommates with. Can you share just a little bit more of what were some of the things? I know you mentioned you were shy, but what were some of the things that you wish that now that you're older and you're successful, and what are some of the things that you wish you would have done differently in those time periods where you struggled, such as you said you live next door to one of your good friends, well, one of the people that became your good friend later on. What were some of the things that you wish you may have done differently?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few things I wish I would have done differently. I think I'll start with the isolation factor.
Hmm.
And this is hard to do when you're, a freshman in college, you're away from home. It's hard not to retreat. It is so hard not to. But I wish I would have, there were so many events on campus that like these associations were having and my later friends were at that I didn't go to because I was too scared to like put myself out there and kind of engage with people. But I later learned we were all in the same boat. Like we were all experiencing something very similar. And in those moments, I wish I would have left my dorm room and gone to literally not even 50 feet to the student center and like just sat there, even if it was for 5 minutes, even if I just walked to the door. I wish I would have just walked out of my room because I was severely depressed. My grades were slipping. I was starting to skip class. There was a lot of things happening that this stuff was affecting. And I, again, so young, no parental guidance. It was my first time on my own. I couldn't make the connection that the social isolation was having such a big effect on me. And it wasn't, until I realized that this is me, looking back, that I really, really needed that social connection. There's only so many times a day I could FaceTime my family. There's only so many times a day I could talk to my friends from back home. So I needed, and texting only does so much. So I needed, and I craved some of those connections. And I did seek out some of those connections in romantic ways that
Hmm.
weren't the healthiest either. So there was other ways that I was trying to seek stuff out, but I wasn't doing it in probably the safest or healthiest way for me. I think that's probably number one for me. And I think the second thing is I wish I would have been more authentically myself. I spent a lot of time trying to please other people around me and trying to fit into their mold of what they thought I should be or what they perceived me to be. And I didn't spend enough time just being me. And that was also mentally exhausting as well because I was always trying to please someone. I was always trying to, make this particular person like me, and which is not like me at all. There are times where like now later in college, I was like, I don't really care what you think of me. I'm just going to be me. But that took me a while to get there because and I realized that this rejection I was facing when I was not being my authentic self was kind of related to the fact that I wasn't being myself. And a lot of these people really, that means a blessing in disguise looking back at it, all the rejection that I faced. But that is definitely something that I would do again, or if I could redo. And the third thing, I would probably tell myself to ask for help. I did not ask for any help. I did not ask for any help. I didn't tell my mom that I was feeling this way. I didn't tell it to my roommate. I didn't tell my brother. Anytime anybody called me from home, I was fine. I was great. College was fun. Anytime I talked to my friends, what also hurt me was I would talk to my friends that went away to other schools and they were having a blast. And I couldn't find that fun. I couldn't find that connection. So I would definitely, definitely reach out for help. Even on school campus, I didn't even go to counseling to my senior year. And counseling was available all 4 years that I was there. So just little things like that that I think really, really could have helped me and probably, change those moments. I don't want to change anything fundamentally that happened because it really shaped who I am.
Hmm.
But some of those smaller things I wish I could alter a little bit.
Absolutely. So there were some key factors in there that you shared. Well, for parents that may be listening, so some things that you shared was that you would connect with the people at home, your family, your mom, and just share things were going well, things were okay, because of a variety of reasons, and they probably felt that things were going well for you at school. And also, some other key factors were your grades were slipping a little bit. So, your grades were slipping, things at home, no one would have suspected that things were rocky for you. So, college students reaching out to share, whether it's on campus, whether it's to tell a loved one or a friend, or to reach out on your own to someone like a caring voice for you, is very important because you're not alone in what you're going through. And unless someone knows what challenges you're faced with, it's hard to help you. It's hard to provide you with the resources and supports that are absolutely available to you. Like Jess said, on campus there's counseling and it's free.
It
And
is.
there's so many other resources out there that are available to you if you just say something and let someone know. So I totally encourage you to, connect with someone that can help and at least let your parents, family, friends, someone know what you're going through so you can get connected with the support that you need. So, parents also, when grades are slipping, there could be a variety of reasons for knowing that, okay, something's just isn't right. So, really take the time to have those conversations with your students and really listen to what they're sharing. And it may not be that first conversation that you have that you will get an answer, but continue to connect with them, continue to ask questions, and gain an understanding of what potentially could be going on in their lives to really help them because they have gone off to college, but they may still be going through things they're not willing to share or they may not be ready to share. So please continue to check in with them and give them guidance. So as I move along, there are some other things that I wanted to just talk to you about. Balancing academics, your personal life, your mental health can be overwhelming. And I know you talked about a couple different things that you wish you would have done differently while you were experiencing your time in college. But what strategies or things that you can share with college student, like some concrete strategies about maybe managing stress or staying grounded or even connecting socially with other people. What are some maybe key things that you can just recommend that they could try in order to maybe move forward in many of the things that they may be going through?
Well, I think there's quite a few things in on, and it may not feel like that in the moment, but I think there are. And I'll say what I did when I was in college that really helped. The sophomore or second half of my freshman year, I got a job. I got a job on campus. I wanted to earn money, and campus jobs were very easy, but I worked at the gym. And what I enjoyed about working in the gym was that I had access to the weights and I had access to the treadmills. And one of the things that became a stress reliever and kind of grounding technique for me was working out. And although it was another activity I did by myself, it became a consistent routine and it got me out of my dorm. Like the goal was for me always to just get out of that dark 2x4 room. So that was one of the first things I did. And through working out, I started to explore, I literally Googled grounding techniques at the time. And one of those things was I started doing yoga. So I would do yoga every Tuesday and Thursday. It was opposite of my class schedule in the mornings. And I would sit. I wouldn't be in my dorm again. It was to get me out. I would go to the campus gym or campus community center that we had, and I would do yoga in a quiet corner and be kind of by myself. And that helped a lot, a lot, a lot. It was a great way to start my day, start my week, and it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. And I think part of both of these things that really helps was just getting me out of the space, getting me out of my honestly dirty dorm room that needed some TLC. I remember the first time my mom came to visit me, she was like, I never want to see your room like that again. And it was rough. It was rough, but I was depressed. And she just saw it as me being my first time being on my own, and I just was messy. But I was honestly depressed. So those were kind of some of the things I did. The other thing after my mom came to visit me that one time and kind of whipped me into shape a little bit was when I was a kid, my mom every Saturday was cleaning day. That was never a different. So, as an adult in my little dorm space, I started making every Sunday my cleaning day. So we had a sink in our room. I would clean the sink. I would organize my toothbrush. It doesn't have to be like vacuuming or anything crazy. It was making my bed. It was kind of just doing my laundry even was a big step for me. And in those moments of like doing laundry, for example, I would watch TV. I wouldn't do any schoolwork or anything related to that. It was to kind of get me to disconnect from all that other stress as well. That was very helpful. And one thing I did consistently every day, which again was hard to do after a while, but I made my bed because coming back into a space that was messy was not fun. It didn't make my mind feel right. So I would make my little twin size bed every day, put my pillows up, um, to kind of reorganize my shoes under my bed. And when I would come back from class, it would make me feel better. And it wasn't, I still took naps and stuff, but I wasn't sleeping for as long as I used to because my bed being made kind of really helped to reframe that. And I want to say the last thing I did was I stopped doing homework in my bed. I would purposely, again, getting out of the room was always the key for me. So I would go down to the common room in my dorm. I didn't even really leave the dorm building sometimes. Go to the common room, sit by the TVs. We had a kitchen area. It was like a huge island. I would sit there and, that is actually also where I started to make friends. Because I was starting to get out more and people would start recognizing me and they would talk to me and they knew me from classes, but they didn't know who I was outside of those, 50, 60 minutes. I go to the library. I became an avid library goer. And because my school was also all girls and Notre Dame was not, I would go to the co-ed to Notre Dame's library. So that got me completely off of campus as well and going into a different environment. So for me, what was oddly grounding in a lot of ways was changing my environment and having a consistent routine was probably the biggest things for me.
Yeah. Wow, those are really good. I usually call them nuggets, but those are really good nuggets that you just shared to help college students, just kind of shift their mindset, shift their perspective, and move forward in some of the things that they may be going through. So,
hmm
thank you very much for sharing those. So, I know that you talked about, kind of struggling with a lot of stress, self identity, kind of also self doubt, and it was isolating for you. Did you ever connect with like a mentor or any adult in the college area that helped you during this time? Because I think it's important to reach out. And, some college
hmm
students, they may or may not be comfortable reaching out with their parents, or they may be far away. And, reaching out to an adult who can help kind of guide you along is, I think, important. So did you find that mentor or that adult that helped you while you were at college?
Yes, there were three women that really, really helped to help me shift and shape my college experience. The first woman was actually my college counselor. My first year, she was an older woman. Her name was Fox. That was her last name. She created such a safe space for me. I would go and tell her anything. She always had food. She was like a mom. And I think that's what drew me to her. And she was also very non-judgmental when I was telling her I was struggling. She helped me guide academically how I could find resources. She would reach out to professors. She would teach me how to reach out to professors, which helped me to advocate. I was always good at self advocacy, but I I wasn't good at it in a professional way. So she helped kind of shape that, and she was very important, especially for my first 2 years. She also probably made the best college schedule I ever had. And by my senior year, I had class like one day a week. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
She she was important. Shout out Diane. He was fantastic. The second one was my freshman year theology teacher, and ended up I ended up doing research for her my senior year. She was one of the few people accepting me for who I was, and she never tried to. And I'm very outspoken, so she never tried to stifle me. And I was already experiencing that in other areas of the college experience. As a black woman, I was experiencing people making stereotypes and all that stuff, and she never really fed into those. And I appreciated her for that. And she always fostered my learning, and she was always open to any ideas, and she was very helpful in that. And She was somebody that was also very warm and inviting, and she ended up becoming one of the best people I ever met in my experience. And she was a professor, so there was sometimes it was weird because she was like my professor, and I had I didn't know if I could have a mentor relationship with her. And then by my senior year, I still keep in touch with her to this day. She is one of my favorite people on the face of this earth. Yeah, I don't know where I would be without her, because a lot of times what was helpful for me too was going to her office and talking to her about anything, whether it was academics and stress and life, and she would really help me in validating those experiences. And I went to a faith-based school, so the third person was our non-denominational chaplain, and I met her by accident in the dining hall. So, and she was just like, she's a pastor. She's like the super warm, bubbly person, and that wasn't me either. So I'm outgoing, but I wasn't like, she was very amped up. But she was also very warm, and she used to hold spaces every Thursday for any students that wanted to come and talk. They didn't have to be faith based; they could just be in the space. And another key thing about her was she would often give me validation that I was looking for that I wasn't getting in other places. So I was experiencing a lot of imposter syndrome and self doubt and a lot of stuff that was really honestly hard. But talking to these women kind of made me realize that, it was just the space that I was in. It wasn't me. It had nothing to do with me, but it was just the people around me weren't always supportive of that. And Pastor Carrie was her name. She's amazing too. I still have her on Instagram. She still texts me. She's a great woman. Ended up being so great. She would take us out for pizza, me and my other friend. She really took care of us a lot. We would go to her house for pool parties. She had little kids. It was just a lot of fun. It felt very familial about that environment. So yeah, those three women really, really shaped who I was. And I think for me, they were women because I was raised by a single mom. So I was searching for kind of mother figures in a way.
Yeah.
Because my mom, she wasn't available to me in the way that, being one on one and stuff. There was a time when Fox, our dorm, the water was brown or something and we couldn't use the water, and she did my laundry for me. So there was a lot of times of just being there for me in other ways that weren't just academic. And I learned that it didn't just have to be related to my grades. It could just be who I was as a person. And that was super helpful. Super, super helpful.
Wow. So it's so important, college students, if you're listening, and even parents, to encourage college students to try to find a mentor or someone that they can connect with, that they can go to for support when they need it. It's so important because, some college students may not be ready to share what they're going through with their parents or even with family and friends, but it may be someone else that they feel like they can connect with and share what's going on or just be supported in general. So it's so important to really find someone that you can connect with and share or receive the support that you may need while you're away at college. Thank you, Jess, so much for coming on and sharing with us. I really appreciate just you being raw with your journey and what you've been through, because there's so many college students who are going through just a tough time in general, and every journey, every experience is unique. But for you to share what you've been through to help others is absolutely phenomenal. And I thank you for that. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, I know you are, you're a professional and you have things going on. How would they get in touch with you?
I think the easiest way, probably my most responsive way to get in touch with me is through my Instagram. I'm constantly kind of addicted to my phone a little bit, so I'm always looking at that, and I'm pretty open to talking to anybody. Like I said, I love to help people in any way I can, whether that's being a supportive person or directing you in the right way. I'm always open to that. So yeah, that's probably the easiest way for me.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you again for coming on, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And if you are interested in learning more about college wellness support or a caring voice for you, please reach out to us at caringvoiceforyou.com. And until next time, everyone, take care.